of all disease. It is true that bacterial pathogens can be a dangerous germ theory. 19th century chemist and microbiologist Louis Pasteur discovered that bacteria can be the cause of infectious disease. To this day, especially in American culture, the concept of bacteria is that of the evil. Rapey. This self-destructive bacteriophobia is a vivid example of the staying power of the static illusions we seem to cherish. Ironically, even Pasteur realized late in life that the singular focus on bacterial pathogens as the cause of disease was misleading. His famous statement was, "The terrain is everything and the bacterium is nothing. Bacteria only survive in specific environments and need specific conditions to reproduce." This is only rarely mentioned. The easy availability of antibiotics leads to lax prevention. The continued rule of germ theory is probably not so much due to the validity of the assumption but rather a reflection of corporate pharmacology's stakes in maintaining this perception. From a contemporaneistic angle, it appears that bacterial infection happens when the immune system is weakened and gives in to an unknown pathogen, or when our body is subjected to an unknown pathogen and the immune system has yet to generate the appropriate antibodies. Realistically, some bacterial infections could be seen as a consequence of underlying weaknesses, whereas others are due to the immune system being surprised by unfamiliar pathogens. Given that in the early 21st century large segments of the population are entirely dependent on industrial antibiotics, the work of French physicians to develop effective essential oil treatments for bacterial infections appears highly prescient. Classic French three-step strategy for infection treatment. In French aromatherapy, infection treatment is generally styled according to a three-step strategy originally developed by Paul Belaiche in the late 1970s. 1. Supporting the elimination of toxins. 2. Eliminating residual pathogens. 3. Supporting convalescence. Belaiche published a large body of in vitro studies and actual clinical results showing the successful treatment of a broad range of infectious. Aromatherapy connects with diverse traditions. 95. Diseases using essential oils. In one form or another, this three-step strategy has remained at the core of French aromatherapy. Protocols based on this three-step strategy were developed by French physicians in the late 1970s, thereby remaining a specialty of conventional medicine inside France. This development was followed by the mainstream success of aromatherapy in the UK, where becoming an aromatherapist blossomed into a bona fide vocational concept. The structure-effect model. Meanwhile, French pioneers like Pierre Franchon began to popularize a system that rationalized essential oil properties and facilitated their selection process. The structure-effect model fleshes out the analytical basis of the three-step strategy. It contends that basic physiological and pharmacological properties are associated with the different types of terpenoid molecules present in essential oils. Structure effect was a bold design, which for the first time connected molecular and physical properties of essential oil components with their physiological activity. It provided the possibilities for a distinct formalism in assigning essential oils to disease conditions they could positively affect. This opened up an extensive playground for subsequent authors, who found ample possibilities to insert their own modifications and twists. I published Advanced Aromatherapy, which explained the synergistic properties of some 50 essential oils by means of the structure and energy map. In Germany, a book was published that attempted to unify the physical with the emotional and esoteric, despite the disdain by the influential International Journal of Aromatherapy, which dismissively dubbed the system functional group theory. It made inroads in British aromatherapy. Based on structure effect, a computerized mixing guide that allows the user to determine the best blend for a desired action with a mouse click was published in the UK. British-style aromatherapy. Beginning in the 1980s, British-style aromatherapy made a big splash. Many books were published that told the public the oils to use and the oils to listen to the use of essential oils. Hence a few examples of Yuan's language and contention shall be given, as they have an extraordinary capacity to empower the individual searching for healing strategies. Note of caution, I do not in any way claim to be an expert in classical Chinese medicine. The following basic ideas have been taken from the presentations of Geoffrey Yuan and are intended to stimulate the reader to explore this fascinating field at greater depth. Paradigm of Chinese medicine. Classical Chinese medicine is based on the philosophical framework of Taoism and consequently approaches healing with a broader outlook than Western medicine. According to Yuan, Chinese medicine operates from the fundamental notion that there are preconditions of life, which need to be met for healthy living. Those preconditions are survival, access to nutrition and being able to fulfill fundamental physiological needs. Interaction, typically interactions with other humans, often evolving into the search for meaning. Differentiation, adjustment or refinement of our worldview and habits as we go through life. Aromatherapy can play significant roles in meeting the requirements of all three preconditions. For example, essential oils can aid in survival by treating infections. They can support interaction by making readjustments of our place in life and society easier. Issues of interaction most often arise for individuals in their 30s and 40s in the shape of conditions resulting from excess stress. While relevant for survival and interaction, essential oils are uniquely suited to help when we are challenged to change our outlook or worldview, when we need to differentiate. Connecting with essential oils can become a key element to facilitate these changes. When it comes to treating disease, Yuan emphasizes the difference between Western and Chinese approaches. Chinese medicine does not treat diseases but rather individual patients. It is perfectly normal for Chinese medicine to treat two individuals differently, despite the fact. Contributors to aromatherapy. Jeffrey Yuan. In an emerging trend in alternative medical communities, most notably in New York and California, aromatherapy has turned to the interface of Chinese medicine and essential oils. This movement was more when it comes to treating disease. Yuan emphasizes the difference between Western and Chinese approaches. Chinese medicine does not treat diseases but rather individual patients. It is perfectly normal